I would like to ask Georgina and Hernandez-Yang to come here to join me. Georgina is the vice presidential spokesperson of the Republic of Philippines. What I want to tell you is the vice president of Philippines was supposed to come and be with us, but I'm sorry. Unfortunately, the vice president is not able to join us today to urgent political reason. And just before I land and I give the micro to Georgina, I would like to salute and welcome our Philippine friends. I don't know where they are, but please stand up. They're fantastic women. They have a lot of courage, and I hope to see you again. Thank you very much.
Merci. Allow me to greet Ms. Jacqueline Franjo, CEO of the Women's Forum, Ms. Clara Gaymar, President of the Women's Forum, Minister Haju, Mr. Macro, Arancia Gonzalez of the International Trade Center, fellow women leaders from different sectors, business, civil society, government. Good afternoon and bonjour. And thank you very much to the Women's Forum for inviting the Philippines to be one of the 2 special delegations this year, the other one being Canada, of course, along with 70 other countries who are here with us today. And as I represent the Vice President to deliver her keynote message and closing remarks, I believe that I also represent the voice of Asia, the voice of the developing countries, and even the voice of young women shapers of society who have a stake in this sharing economy that we have been speaking about for the past 3 days. And allow me to share with you the Vice President's message on women and the sharing economy. Before I became Vice President of my country, I was a lawyer for the poor and marginalized. A huge part of the sector I served were women who were victims of domestic abuse. For most of my adult life, I organized women's groups and trained them to obtain paralegal skills so that they can fight for their rights. The vision was to empower women to find their voice and become part of the decision-making process in our city. It was no secret to us who worked in this space that the ripple effects of one woman saved from ignorance and hopelessness are massive. But the process of transformation that these women have to go through is not easy. At times, they are the ones who resist help. I recall waking up many times in the middle of the night to find them at my door. I would take them into my home, work through sleepless nights to prepare their cases, only for these women to drop out of the case preparations because they do not have the confidence to go at it alone financially. In other words, these women will rather suffer abuse to escape poverty. This is why when the Office of the Vice President conceptualized our anti-poverty programs a few months ago, one of the 5 areas we decided to focus on is the economic empowerment of women. We believe that when women are empowered enough to dream, their families, especially their children, develop the audacity to dream as well. They are more helpful. They can share their world. But the numbers are far from encouraging. Figures from the World Food Program shows that women and children around the world account for 60% of those who are chronically hungry. In the Philippines, women account for 11.2 million of the poor, or 25.6%, second only to 12.4 million who are children. The task before us was huge, and if we were to be effective, we must proceed with order, with care, and with participation from the poor, whom we seek not just as beneficiaries, but as real partners. We dialogued with women's groups, from big corporations to micro-entrepreneurs. We went inside boardrooms, and we trekked to the far-flung mountains and seaside communities. We discussed in big meetings, and we talked among very small groups in far-flung communities. The result is a comprehensive roadmap on how to empower women economically across all sectors in the next 6 years. In the Philippines, 69% of nascent enterprises are owned by women. The image of the Filipina businesswoman is interwoven into the country's subculture in all income levels of society. You will see mothers in remote villages or crowded urban communities selling anything from food, shoes, to appliances after their laundry is done. You will also see powerful women in boardrooms and even in positions of power in government. Many of them have mastered both business and entrepreneurship. As the sharing economy takes a foothold in the Philippine business landscape, I see Filipinas becoming natural adapters to such a powerful, emerging trend. After all, women are collaborative, innovative, creative, and have that innate sense of practicality so important in figuring out how to make collaborative consumption work. Both as consumers and business providers, I wish to see our strong and resilient Filipinas taking advantage of technology, either to reach markets previously inaccessible to them, or to find exciting ways to consume products and services that are cheaper and better. I am hoping that the sharing economy will improve the quality of life in our country, most especially in the lower segments of society, as it redefines the way we work and live, as it has done in other more advanced areas around the world. The sharing economy is still in its infancy in the Philippines. So far, collaborative consumption, as you know it, is mostly in the transport sector, with Grab and Uber revolutionizing the way people are navigating our streets. Airbnb is slowly starting to catch attention, as well as couch surfing and its variants. Women are natural adapters to these trends. Filipinos, in fact, are no strangers to the core principles of the sharing economy. The internet is simply giving us new ways of doing things we have been practicing for years. For instance, mothers take turns in watching over their children in the community, giving others extra time to do laundry or even go out on dates with their husbands. Ride sharing through an app on a smartphone is, in fact, just a new, snazzy way of carpooling. When I was a congresswoman, one community of the women micro-entrepreneurs we were mentoring set up a common service facility that reduced their operational and marketing costs. An AC Nielsen study in 2014 ranked Indonesia and Philippines as two of the top 5 populations worldwide primed to participate in the sharing economy. I think the Filipinos' reputation as early adapters to technology, being the mobile messaging and social media capital of the world, has something to do with this. To unlock the benefits of the sharing economy, however, we need to create a more enabling environment for innovation and disruption. Ease the costs of doing business, including reducing corruption in that area. Connect men and women with good ideas to cheaper capital. Set up systems for business mentoring and hand-holding, and improve internet connectivity in our country of more than 100 people and 7,000 plus islands. I repeat, we have 100 million women, men, and children living in more than 7,000 islands. The cost of infrastructure to provide decent bandwidth in the entire country is massive. These are huge hurdles. Some will require structural changes. Some will simply necessitate focus and an ability to think out of the box and not get into another box. Some barriers will be knocked down only if government and the private sector work together. But let me emphasize, it is crucial that we see the growth of the sharing economy in our work in the context of financial and social inclusion. Wealth in the Philippines is enjoyed only by the top quintile of our population. A better, more equitable distribution of wealth is crucial if we are to claim the title Asia's Emerging Superpower. We also see the necessity of shining a light on the role of women in the sharing economy, while it is still a nascent one. I haven't seen any female Uber or Grab drivers in the Philippines yet. If there are, we will have to look into whether they are safe and they are getting the same opportunities for growth and linkage into inclusive supply chains. Can our small groups of women micro-entrepreneurs get enough funding and mentoring so they can use the internet and harness technology to gain linkages to markets way beyond the sleepy corners of their community? Are they given a seat at the table as the government deals with this exciting new sharing economy? The space for participation in business must be open to women as they are to men, and women must be compensated fairly. It is the sharing economy's impact on inclusive growth and women empowerment that I am most interested in. And I believe that the potential is tremendous. In closing, let me tell you about a woman I admire. When I first met Fe Carranza, she was a small-scale vendor who delivered food to local City Hall employees in Naga City. The first time I saw her was when she was trying to start her service tricycle. She was facing the rear so she can use her able left leg to push the right-sided pedal and start the vehicle. She only faced front when the engine started. You see, Fe had polio when she was very young and her right leg was shorter than her left. I was awestruck. What strength she lacked in her right leg, her big heart and oversized courage made up for many times over. I was then president of the Naga City Council of Women. She told me how she first tried her hand in business by selling vegetables in a private market in Navotas, one of the cities in Metro Manila. When that business strained her relationship with her husband, she dropped it and went back to the province. By some stroke of luck, some college students in Infanta, Quezon, sought shelter in her house when they got caught in a typhoon and cooked tofu while waiting for the storm to pass. That was how she first learned the skill that would change her life. As I speak on women's issues, I am reminded that all over the world, there is a sisterhood of women, and that is a value of this Women's Forum Global Meeting, to nurture cross-border relationships and cross-sector engagements among women. What happens to the least of us will have an effect on a future that affects all of us. Women empowerment leads to other freedoms. Freedom to participate in family decision-making. Freedom to provide for children's needs. Freedom to say no to vote buying. Freedom to participate politically. And even freedom to improve oneself, among many other things. So thank you for events like this, to elevate the discussion and bring together thought leaders that will change the future of women around the world.